This is the newsroom from Monday, May 17, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, MTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, the government launches a $20 million block-making project to provide 400 jobs for persons in vulnerable communities. The family of a 9-year-old boy who was crushed to death in Sophia is struggling to come to grips with his passing.
Now it's like if I don't have no strength in my body, because he's not there with me.
PAHO confirms that the Brazil COVID-19 variant is in Guyana. A postgraduate psychology researcher says the placement of children into secondary schools impacts their psychosocial well-being. And in sport, national cyclist Britton John appeals for more rewards for their sacrifices after a rigorous independence 3-stage road race.
This chunk change, you got a whole team, you got to divide the money between, and that's not enough, it's level.
And Latricia Hooper resets Guyana's triple jump record. With the news, I'm Fariza Hanif. We're glad you can join us. A 20 million community-based employment stimulation project has been launched by the Ministry of Housing and Water to create employment for some 400 people in vulnerable communities across the country. Vishani Ragabir has our story.
The community project was launched on Monday in Tiger Bay, Georgetown, where the first phase of the block-making employment initiative will be conducted. Through this project, 80 direct jobs are expected to be created each year in various vulnerable communities over a 5-year period, and a number of indirect jobs are expected to be stimulated. According to the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, Guyana currently has a large demand for cement blocks due to the ongoing expansion of the construction sector, and the Housing Ministry saw this demand as an opportunity to provide employment in communities.
The construction sector, as you know, is taking off once again, and the demands are many. Participation in this activity will allow those of you who are willing to make the commitment to become exposed to the world of work in a much more structured manner. Become entrepreneurs for yourselves and better provide for your families. One such demand that I'm alluding to is the demand for blocks. There is an immediate demand for 123,000 for the houses that are just being built in 2 communities, that is Cummins Lodge and Prospect. How do we meet this demand? We have decided to come to you, the block makers within your communities, to fill the demand.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, Sherwin Greaves, noted that the Housing Authority will be working alongside the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, GNBS, to ensure that the cement blocks made are of a high standard.
The program basically is going into these communities, identifying persons who are already block makers or those who are interested in making blocks, and providing them with the assistance of elevating their game. We will also engage our contractors who are building houses for us, who will then purchase the blocks from the block makers. This is a win-win for us all.
Residents of some of the targeted communities also believe that the project would be a good one to stimulate employment and economic activity.
The project here today is very good, especially for my All Bystone community, because there's a lot of youths not doing anything, unemployed, and it's going to be good for them. I have a small block making business with 1 worker. With this initiative here now, I could be able to employ more persons on board and find jobs for them.
While we're now starting up for the community of East Strongville, we're now putting forward and starting up a block business so that youths in the community could be empowered.
Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Suzanne Rodriguez, highlighted that the CESP is an indication of the government's commitment to generating employment for Guyanese. She highlighted too that this project was initiated by none other than President Dr. Irfan Ali himself. She also highlighted that such a project will help to bridge the country's wealth gap and empower people to generate income on their own. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Vishani Ragabir.
The family of 9-year-old Enam Holder, who was crushed to death by a garbage truck in Seafield, Sophia, Georgetown on Sunday, is still struggling to come to grips with his passing. During an interview with the young lad's parents, his mother, Roxanne Holder, relayed that her heart died with her son. Shikima Day tells us more.
I go to work, I come in. When I come in, he's there to hug me, kiss me, but say, Mommy, how is it there? He'd make a laugh, he'd make a smile. I have one grandson, his name is Adi. Both of them is played together. Sometimes I just sit down and watch them playing because it's fun to watch them playing. He learn all his schoolwork, he do everything, but now it's like if I don't have no strength in my body because he's not there with me.
That was Roxanne Holder, mother of little Anam Holder, who died tragically on Sunday after being crushed by a passing garbage truck in Seafield, Sophia, Georgetown. Police reports said that the garbage truck bearing number plate GVV 6890 was proceeding east along Church Street, Section C, Sophia, picking up garbage. The driver of the truck reportedly stopped in the vicinity of a heap of mud, which was on the southern side of the road, and exited to assist his porter to load the garbage onto the truck. After the driver re-entered the truck and started driving, Inam, who was proceeding in the same direction, attempted to ride past his truck on the southern side. He, however, according to police, rode onto the mud and lost control of his bicycle. According to his father, Nigel Holder, he was only 40 feet away from home when he was informed of the accident.
I heard somebody come to me and said, a boy by the name of Isaiah come to me and tell me that my son gets crushed with one of the garbage truck. Well, I didn't know it was where, but I see a crowd rushing towards the place, and I walk and I go and I witness my son lying in a pool of blood on the road, side of the road in the corner. I see my son about 10 minutes before. He was by his uncle's shop.
Meanwhile, an eyewitness to the accident, Maylene C. Mangle, who opted to remain off camera, explained to the newsroom that it was rather unusual for the garbage truck to be out on Sundays, as the scheduled day is Saturday. The woman reported that the pile of mud on the street made it difficult for vehicles to traverse, especially a large garbage truck. She said that as the driver was about to pull off, another neighbor began shouting for him to stop, but those calls went unheeded.
Yeah, the woman was pushing a stroller with the little child inside. So she lift up the thing and she showing he saw, right? Because she saw the little child on the bum there. And the guy up there, which is Colin George, he saw hollering and telling the guy, showing the guy the child on the bump. But by the time the man didn't really hearing what they were saying because they said like he little. And the guy drive, but he wasn't driving speed. But like the little child bicycle slide off the mud and he slide under the back wheel.
Young Inam was pronounced dead at the scene. His body remains at the Lycan Funeral Home awaiting an autopsy. Inam Holder lives to mourn his parents and 3 siblings. For the newsroom, I am Shikima Day.
The placement of children into secondary schools based on their academic performance at the National Grade 6 Assessment (NGSA) may have an adverse impact on students' self-esteem, engagement, expectations for their future, and interest in school. This was found in research conducted by postgraduate psychology researcher Charlotte Shaw, and which was published in the Caribbean Journal of Education.
My research that I conducted was looking at the psychosocial well-being of students across the range of the 4 types of schools that kids are placed into in Guyana. So I went into an A school, a B school, a C school, and a D school, and I looked at the students' psychosocial well-being.
And what were some of the findings from your research?
So what I discovered was that whilst it's known that students in B, C, and D schools would be better off in a mixed ability school, what I found out in my research was that the students actually in the A school had the lowest psychosocial well-being compared to the B, C, and D school students. So the D school students had higher self-esteem, future expectations, And, oh, what's the other one? Student engagement. Yes, they had higher student engagement than the School A students.
And from previous research, from research conducted by other persons before you, is this strange?
No, so selective education systems have been studied widely around the world, and a lot of countries are trying to change their systems. And this outcome has been shown in many countries before. This is the first time it's been shown in the Caribbean, but it's known as the big fish, little pond effect. So what happens is students who are clever, when they're in their regular primary school, which is filled with mixed ability students, they are the big fish in the little pond, right? And then when they sit common entrance and they get placed into an A school, all of a sudden they are a little fish in a big pond. And so this has an impact on their psychosocial well-being. It's shown that their self-esteem plummets. They actually have low student engagement, so they lose interest in school, and then their expectations for their future lowers. So, and this effect is long-lasting. So this effect has been shown to last 5 years post-graduation.
And establishing that, what do you think, or what have you found that could be possible solutions to this?
So researchers have looked into what you can do within the system, right? So if you maintain the academic system as it is with the NGSA, what can you do? And they've found that there's not much that can be done other than sort of trying to instill a culture of cooperativeness rather than competitiveness within the school, but it's really challenging. And so they say that actually there's no way around it. If you have a selective education system like Guyana does, then you're likely to have an effect like the big fish, little pond effect. And the only thing you can do really is to change it to a more egalitarian system.
And what would a more egalitarian system look like?
So there's excellent research coming out of Barbados. Most of the Caribbean countries who have this same system as Guyana have looked into what they could have instead of it, how they could abolish it. And there's some excellent research, yes, coming out of Barbados because they're really keen to change it, where it's sort of what the minister was saying, in that you need all schools to have equal capacity, and that means equal infrastructure. The teachers are just as committed, and the motivation of the students is higher because they don't feel that they've just been labeled as the bad students. And so what you do is you localize education. So everyone goes to the school that is closest to their house. Doesn't matter what your abilities are, and all the mixed ability children are together. And I mean, that's the way it is in a lot of countries around the world.
PAHO confirms that the Brazil COVID-19 variant is in Guyana, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is gearing up for a major diaspora conference. Those and more stories when the newsroom returns. The government, in keeping with its renewed efforts to engage the diaspora in national development, is pushing ahead with its first major diaspora conference to be held virtually on May 22, 2021. As such, Foreign Secretary Robert Persaud has assured that while conference fatigue may deter persons from the virtual engagement, it will not just be a talk shop. Here's Kurt Campbell.
During a press conference on Monday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Foreign Secretary Robert Persaud said the Diaspora Conference will facilitate constructive dialogue in keeping with President Irfaan Ali's promise to aggressively pursue the involvement of the diaspora in national development. He said the conference seeks to provide a platform of exchange between the government and the diaspora, while at the same time clarifying that it is not intended to offer any preference to the diaspora, but rather equal opportunities.
I think many of us have gotten conference fatigue, but we don't want this. This is just not another conference. This is a conference. The fact that you have the president, the vice president, several ministers of government addressing key and key topics as well as topics pertinent to the diaspora, is intended to have one with specific outcome and one that will inform government policy and interaction.
Through the conference, hundreds of persons will be placed in the virtual space and hold discussions on a range of issues including remigration, tourism, trade, investment prospects, youth engagement opportunities, and philanthropy. The conference will see the participation of President Ali as a featured guest. He will also be joined by Vice President Barchakdio and several government ministers, including the Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, Minister of Finance, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and the Minister of Housing and Water, among others. Other agencies like the Guyana Revenue Authority, the Guyana Office for Investment, the Private Sector Commission, and the Guyana Tourism Authority will also participate. With 500 groups and individuals from across the diaspora already registered, the Diaspora Unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation said registration will close when 1,000 persons have been registered. The head of that unit, Rosalinda Rasool, said while groups in Guyana will be part of the conference, the majority of registration came from the United States and Canada. Groups in the United Kingdom have also shown great interest, Rasool said.
But I can assure you, post-conference, the 22nd of May, you're actually going to see a rollout of quite a lot of initiatives and engagement with the Diaspora Unit and the different diaspora groups. We have had, over the past 2 months, extensive meetings with various diaspora groups and diasporans on an individual level to talk about what their interests are, what their concerns are, and how best they see this relationship actually playing out.
With a 100% buying, Rasool explained that prior to the conference, the unit has been engaging groups globally to advance the government's diaspora development agenda. It is through these prior engagements that the unit was able to detect interest in the diaspora and will use the conference to start the level of engagement needed. Issues and concerns raised by the groups will also be addressed. This unit will be primarily responsible for the implementation and monitoring of Guyana's diaspora policy. In keeping with the theme of the conference, a new era of engagement for the Guyanese diaspora, the unit has been working to develop the necessary framework to allow for structured and sustained engagement with the diaspora. The conference, which is regarded as an example of such engagement, seeks to introduce the new policy and unit, provide a platform for the sharing of information, and generally reassure the diaspora of the government's commitment to ensuring diaspora engagement in national development.
Advisor on emerging viral diseases at the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Dr. Jairo Mendez Rico, has confirmed that the PI1 variant of the SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, is indeed present in Guyana. Vishani Raghuber tells us more.
During a webinar on SARS-CoV-2 variants organized by PAHO for journalists, Dr. Mendez Rico stated that 37 countries in the Latin America and Caribbean region have confirmed the presence of one or more variants of concern. The variants of concern that have emerged around the world include the B.1.1.7 that originated in the United Kingdom, the B.1.351 that originated in South Africa, the P.1 that originated in Brazil, and the B.1.617 that originated in India. According to Dr. Mendez Rico, the UK variant has been recorded in 34 countries in the Latin America and Caribbean region, the South Africa variant in 17 countries, the Brazil variant in 21 countries, and the India variant in 8 countries. During the webinar, Dr. Mendez Rico presented a table that illustrated what variants have been recorded in which countries. On this table, it was indicated that the P1 or Brazil variant was confirmed in Guyana. None of the other variants were, however, confirmed present in Guyana. Explaining exactly what variants are, Dr. Mendez Rico said that they are created through the mutations of viruses. He said that the occurrence of mutations is a natural and expected event within the evolutionary process of the virus. Though most mutations are inconsequential and some even detrimental to the virus, he said that there are some mutations which can give the virus advantages, making them more detrimental to the person infected. Importantly, Dr. Mendez Rico related that there are no studies to show that the COVID-19 vaccines are not effective against the variants of the virus. Since the UK variant was discovered last year, the local authorities have sent a small amount of COVID-19 samples for genetic analysis to determine whether they are one of the variants of concern. With Guyana's porous border with Brazil, there have been concerns over the importation of the P1 variant. To date, there has been no confirmation from the Ministry of Health on whether any of the variants are present in Guyana. Reporting for the newsroom, Vishani Raghavir.
Just before noon on Monday, Guyana received another consignment of 67,537 doses of the Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines. The shipment arrived via Amerijet at the Chadi Jagan International Airport and brings the government closer to its goal of achieving herd immunity while further strengthening the country's fight against COVID-19. Guyana received its first consignment of 25,000 doses of the Sputnik V vaccine from Russia on April 2nd. This was followed by another shipment of 30,000 doses on April 12th and another 83,000 doses on April 19th. The quantities of vaccines are part of the 200,000 doses Guyana purchased from the government of Russia. Amerijet said on Monday that it transported the vaccines free of cost to the government and people of Guyana as part of its humanitarian support. The airline said it hopes Monday's shipment will help provide relief to the impacted communities in Guyana. So far, Sputnik V has been approved for use in 60 countries and is positioned as second among COVID-19 vaccines worldwide in terms of approvals issued by various regulators. When the newsroom returns, Canada partners with a local NGO to support the rights of LGBTQ persons, and Chile looks to strengthen its ties with Guyana. You're watching the newsroom. Canada, through its Global Fund for Local Initiatives, has partnered with Equal Guyana, a non-governmental human rights organization, to raise recognition of the rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer persons in Guyana. The signing of the agreement for the new project, which took place on Monday, not only coincides with Equal's second-year anniversary, but also with the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Kurt Campbell reports.
International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia and Biophobia is observed annually on May 17th, commemorating the World Health Organization decision in 1990 to declassify homosexuality as a mental disorder. To mark the occasion in Guyana, the Canadian Fund for Local Initiatives, which provides modest funding for small-scale, high-impact projects in Guyana, has partnered with a non-governmental human rights organization, Equal Guyana, on a new project that is geared towards ensuring that there are more safe spaces and equal opportunities for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer persons in Guyana. Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Teixeira attended the signing event on Monday, along with Canadian High Commissioner Mark Berman and Managing Director of Equal Guyana Anil Prasad at the High Commissioner's Bel Air Gardens residence in Georgetown. Teixeira said the government supports the project, even as she hinted that part of the government's difficulty with controversial legislative change was education.
Don't get disheartened. There will be change. Change does come. It takes time in societies. And obviously the global trend and the importance of today, and what I find interesting about IDAHOT is that it recognizes the individuality and uniqueness of different countries, their cultural, religious practices and diversity that lead to sometimes different approaches and different solutions to the final outcome of being able to ensure that all people in their societies have equal rights.
She told the small gathering that Guyana has a far way to go in offering LGBTQ persons the rights other countries have, but noted that the government continues to empower, educate and engage. Meanwhile, High Commissioner Berman said Canada welcomes the May 17th occasion to reaffirm the principle to which it is deeply committed, and that is that no one should be subject to discrimination because of sexual orientation or gender identity.
In the words of our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, everyone deserves to live free of stigma, persecution and discrimination, no matter who they are or whom they love. I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate IDAHOT B 2021 than lending support to the LGBTQ community in Guyana through our partnership with Equal Guyana.
He said it is hoped that through this project, awareness for the recognition of safety and security for LGBTQ persons would be raised. The project would contribute to greater recognition of rights for local LGBTQ persons. In welcoming the project, Prasad said, while Equal has been empowering, educating and engaging over the last 2 years to promote LGBTQ rights in Guyana, it remains cognizant of the realities and applaud the new project, which will allow the work to continue in a non-confrontational manner.
So our aim really is to create small change, and it may seem minuscule, but the reality is that our seemingly small efforts create collective action, and collective action really has substantial power to create a positive change. So we want to create a safe space, we want to create a more inclusive Guyana, and it is our hope that this project can take us just a little bit closer to that reality.
Prasad said while the work Equal does is on a small scale, it is targeted and it will go a long way in supporting mental health, counseling, and conflict resolution and peace-building skills training.
The government of Chile has noted its interest to strengthen economic and commercial links with Guyana. The expression came on Monday as a new Chilean ambassador in the person of Juan Vasquez was accredited by President Irfan Ali at his Shiv Chandrapal Drive office. Here's Kurt Campbell again.
We understand that it's time to advance in the instrument of economic and commercial linkage with Guyana, for which, within the framework of the Chile and CARICOM negotiations, make the objective of Guyana and Chile compatible with this promising path of development. The auspicious progress of Guyana represents enormous potential and an important opportunity to promote cooperation in all areas, from the environment, energy, mining, human development, human rights, among others.
That was Chilean ambassador to Guyana, Juan Vasquez. He said Chile has supported Guyana over the years in the areas of energy, mining, human rights, and human development, and it is time to expand the scope of cooperation. President Irfan Ali pointed to the deep commitment the two countries share in democratic values, the promotion of human rights, and guarantees of fundamental freedoms. He said Guyana also appreciates Chile because of its respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states and the sanctity of treaties. Dr. Ali pointed out that Guyana and Chile relations have been buttressed by cooperation in a variety of areas, including the Regional Framework Agreement signed in 1994. This agreement, Dr. Ali said, remains the cornerstone of relations between the two states.
The people of Guyana and Chile harbor similar aspirations in respect to economic opportunities, social advancement, safety, and security. These aspirations are especially challenged in the face of the current pandemic.
Guyana and Chile will soon celebrate 50 years of diplomatic relations, having established diplomatic relations on July 22, 1971. Vasquez will replace Patricio Becker as Chilean ambassador to Guyana. He served in various international relations positions in South America since 1992.
The contractor conducting rehabilitation works on the Mahayaka to Cane Grove Road on the east coast of Demerara will have to work night and day to make up for the lost time on the project. This is according to Minister of Public Works Juan Edgil, who noted that the $200 million contract was awarded to Colin Talbot Contracting Services. The works should have been completed in 2020. However, several issues delayed its completion, including a blockage of the road caused by another contractor working in the same area.
I visited Cane Grove at the request of the residents, and since then, we have two separate contracts that are operating in Cane Grove as we speak. A $200 million contract for the Cane Grove, Mahayaka to Cane Grove Road has been awarded to Colin Talbot Associates, Colin Talbot Contracting. Then there are two other internal roads in Cane Grove that have been awarded to Associate, which is Peter Lewis, and that's about 2.7 kilometers of roads in Cane Grove of itself, and both works are currently ongoing. So the only way the residents could have told you that is if they told you that probably in January of this year. We've had a challenge on the main access road, Mahayaka to Cane Grove, in that the fact that we had both contractors in, one contractor mobilized his materials for the building of the interior roads on the main access road. So there were sections of that road that no work could have been done because of the stockpile of materials. My engineers, having spoken to that contractor from encumbering the next contractor, have had to move towards writing, and that matter has been rectified. Just this morning, I had a meeting with the contractor, Mr. Colin Talbot, and his engineers, because I'm reviewing all outstanding 2020 projects.
And like you would have known, that road was part of our 2020 budget. It has had some adjustments. The end date for that road is the 12th of July. And I have said to the contractors this morning, they have to work day and night to make up for the time lost.
When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather, and bridge reports, along with sport. Welcome back to the newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We start things off with some cycling news. This weekend, the Independence 3-stage cycling road race returned for the first time since 2016. And Britton John, who rode as a junior at that event, has emerged as the winner of this year's showpiece, which concluded at Thirst Park in Georgetown on Sunday. Akeem Green covered the race and filed this report.
The We Stand United Cycle Club rider won the first stage, placed fourth in the second stage, and secured second in the third, all of which were enough for him to secure the overall title with a time of 6 hours, 56 minutes and 57 seconds. A 21-year-old Brighton won the first stage from Corriverton to New Amsterdam, which was 45 miles on Saturday morning, in a time of 1 hour, 44 minutes and 37 seconds, followed by Adeli Hodge and Paul de Norberga. The second stage, Rosignol to Carrifest Avenue, approximately 58 miles, which started at 14 hours on Saturday as well, was won by Jeffrey in a close battle with Jamal John, who suffered a flat during the race. De Norberga came third and Brighton fourth and Alex Mendes fifth as they rounded off the top five, but it still gave Brighton a 14-second lead heading into the third stage. With the lead Brighton had on his competitors, it would have been a difficult task to stop him from winning the overall title once he kept close to the winner in the third stage. From the hill at Splashman's Resort, the two Johns distanced themselves from the peloton with their speed, and it was difficult for anyone to lay chase. Given that the two were in contention for the overall title, they had various tit-for-tat battles, gauging each other to see when best to make a move.
Everybody was riding against me, you know. Team Evolution, Team Foundation. So it was a lot of attacking in the hill. They're trying to get rid of me, and my team protect me coming through. And I see an opportunity on Splashman, and this is where I move, and Jamal John followed me. And this is my second tree stage. I would ride the first one. I was a junior, and this one, and yeah, I had to win this one because everybody else win one and I never win one. So, yeah.
How do you feel about winning the race?
I feel real good, you know. It's a big success, so I'm very thankful.
Jamal John, who was Brighton's closest challenger, came second with an overall time of 6 hours, 56 minutes and 9 seconds. Jamal won the third stage, started Cara Cara on the Lennon Suzac Highway and ended at Thirst Park, Georgetown, covering a distance of just over 62 miles.
The performance, the level is there. Now coming back to fitness. Not 100, but 90. Feel great in the race throughout the whole tree stage. The game plan was to go as hard as possible, me and my teammate Reynard. But in the highway, like the last two hills, I keep attacking, hoping for he to go, but he ain't going like full gas out there, so I know one's trying to work with him when they go with him. So when I attack, Brighton just counter and I go over to his wheel, and that was it.
Brighton won $70,000 while Jamal copped $60,000. The other top six finishers received $50,000, $40,000, $35,000, $25,000 respectively. Paul de Norberga, Reynard Jeffrey, and Christopher Griffith rounded out the top five. Alex Mendes was the top master with an overall time of 7 hours, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Stephen Fernandez and Paul Chuminam rounded out the top three. Junior cyclist David Hicks of We Stand United Cycling Club won the overall prize of $50,000 ahead of first stage winner Mario Washington, while Aaron Newton, also of We Stand Cycle Club, placed third, and 13-year-old Alex Leong came fourth. Lyndon Susanna Hamilton was the top female, and she won $50,000 as she was followed by Shanika Teixeira and 13-year-old debutante Anisha Crandon. The female and juniors were not required to ride the third stage, and their championship was calculated based on the positions of the first and second stages. For the newsroom, Akin Green.
The Independence three-stage cycling road race totals approximately 171 miles. It contested across 2 days, and the overall winner receives $70,000. The champion of this year's race, Britton John, has indicated it is not good enough given the sacrifices the cyclists endure.
The prize money has been the same for the last 10 years. What do you think about racing for 2 days, 171 miles for 70,000?
Well, that's not good, you know. It's bad sports, you know. We race with heart out, 3 stages, and you get nothing. That's chunk change, you know. You got a whole team, you gotta divide the money between, and that's not enough, you know. It's level. We race our heart out just for that, and it's not good, really.
The race is organized by the Guyana Cycling Federation, the GCF, and over the years it has gotten significant support from the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Prior to this edition, the event was last held in 2016. GCF President Lyndon Dowritz said the prize structure is based on what the sponsorship could facilitate.
Yeah, like I said, you mentioned this is the premier cycling event, but the other events like the Ounce of Gold race, we race for 1 day and you get like $250,000. This race here, you race for 3 stages, 171 miles, but you get $70,000. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's the culture or the history behind it, but that's just how it, I mean, I came to the ranks and it was like that since then. Everybody would like to win the 3 stage.
Yeah, but then shouldn't there be a more incentive than $70,000 for riding to win in the premier sports cycling event?
That is dependent on what the sponsorship could facilitate. All right? So
but that has been for the past 10 years.
I am not in a position to answer to that.
Sorry?
I don't know. I can't say.
Would you agree, though, hopefully with more corporate support, you would hope in the next 3 stage that you guys can get more than $70,000 for its price?
This 3 stage has always been, since its birth 30 odd years ago, has always been a youth and culture thing. And we would like it to remain that way. We will do and try to do other events and have corporate Guyana on board. But we like this to remain as it is, a youth and culture event.
The cash prizes for 2nd to 6th range from $60,000 to $25,000 in the seniors category. The top prize for masters, female and juniors is $50,000, while a stage winner pockets $15,000. Sports Minister Charles Ramson Jr. indicated the ministry is a core funder of the event, but not the sole funder.
Core funding comes from the ministry, but it's not the sole funding, right? So what has happened over the last year and a bit is that maybe a year and a half or so is that companies have been far more tight with their budget. So the revenue isn't as high. So people are, one of the first things that people do when their revenue is a little bit, is less on businesses or individuals, is that they spend less on advertising. So once they spend less on advertising, it means that events such as this also go on the chopping board. So we want to make sure that the event happens. That's the first thing. But then that's when a lot of these associations, they get to have the springboard and the leverage to go into companies to say, look, we think this event is going to happen. This is a ministry that is going to be, or the ministry is going to be sponsoring this, so it means that there's already that government participation in there, and it would be a good look for them to be sponsoring as well as partnering with the ministry. We've been having that conversation with a lot of the companies already, because we want to let them know that, you know, developing the country is really about developing the people. You know, the building and the infrastructure work, all of that is going to happen. It's going to happen regardless. The government is going to do some of that. The private sector is going to do some of that. Individuals are going to do some of that. But the building of the people is about building talents, and it's about building cooperation, and it's about building the kind of qualities that we need that sport brings. Sport and also what's connected to culture.
This 3-stage race would usually start with the first leg being from Corriverton to New Amsterdam, followed by Rosignol to Carifest Avenue in Georgetown on the same day. The next morning, cyclists would race from Karakara on the Linden-Sussex Highway to Georgetown. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
Latricia Hooper erased Guyana's 26-year-old national women's triple jump record of 13.74 meters and replaced it with 13.92 meters. Competing for the University of Florida at the Southeastern Conference Outdoor Championships, Hooper finished third and bettered Nicola Marshall's June 3, 1995 record to be Guyana's new record holder. Guyanese sprinter Kenisha Phillips currently attends Austin Peay State University in Clarksville, Tennessee. And at the weekend, the 20-year-old swept the 200 and 400-meter dashes on the final day of competition at the 2021 Ohio Valley Conference Outdoor Championships. Austin Peay Governance features the young athlete about her rise and making the move from Guyana to the United States of America to be a student athlete.
My name is Kenisha Phillips. I'm from Guyana, Georgetown. I love listening to music. I love singing. I love dancing, and I just love like making jokes. Every morning when I wake up, I would just be singing away, and my roommate would call and be like, "Yeah, you're loud. Can you please quiet down?"
Kenisha's story begins in Guyana, country on South America's North Atlantic coast. Her large family, consisting of parents, 4 brothers, and a handful of nieces and nephews, were very supportive of her decision to come to America to pursue her education and her dreams. But from an early age, Kenisha knew what her dreams would be simply from watching TV.
I remember I was 7 years old, and I was just sitting in front of the TV looking through the channel to see something interesting to look at. And then I came across the Olympic Games that was showing in 2008. Usain Bolt was on the TV. He was getting ready to run the 100 meter, and I was just sitting there looking at him. And he was running like very, very fast. And I was like, wow, he won. And the crowd was all cheering. I was like, wow, I want to be just like him. I want to be able to represent my country. I want to go to the Olympics. And I went to my parents and I said, I want to be a professional athlete. And they were very supportive. My dad, my 2 brothers, and my dog, we would wake up very early in the morning, like when it's dark outside, and we would just go and run on the seawall. And since then, I was like encouraged and motivated to like just run.
Over the next few years, Kenisha would train to develop her track skills, and like many athletes, garnering a nickname often comes with the territory.
So I was in 9th grade in high school, and I was introducing myself. I was new at the school. I transferred from Bladenau Multilateral, that was my second high school, and I went to Chase's Academy. And I was introducing myself to the class, and I was telling the teacher a little bit about me. I told her I'm an athlete, and she was like, "So you're fast, so I'm going to give you the name Flash." And that's how come everyone started calling me Flash, and yeah, that's how I ended up with the name.
Flash forward, Kenisha's arrival at Austin Peay was a simple one. A friend of her mentor in Guyana suggested Kenisha continue her track journey at Austin Peay. For Kenisha, the answer was simple: yes. In her very first race as a Gov, she tied the school's 60-meter indoor record and went on to become the only athlete in OVC history to be named Freshman of the Year and Athlete of the Championship in the same season.
It was a really good feeling because it was my first time like running for the school and just competing at a big stage there, and it was a very good feeling.
As has been the case for many athletes this year, Kenisha had to adjust her training due to COVID-19.
It was very hard to deal with, but I still kept on training. I didn't let that like keep me down from doing what I had to do. And I just keep training, I just keep working hard because I have a dream, and I want to be able to like live up to that dream some days.
Kenisha's academic aspirations are driven from a personal place dating back to her childhood.
I'm an education major. I want to be pre-K3 teacher. I want to educate children. I want to teach them because growing up, I feel as though I've been given up on in school, so I want to be that teacher to never give up on kids.
Giving up on in school,
Well, some teacher, like, even though you don't get the work, they would just move on to the next curriculum. And I feel as though I was just giving up on.
Being a standout collegiate sprinter is merely the beginning for Kenisha. She has her sights set on an even larger stage, representing her home nation in the Olympics one day.
That's one of my main goals, is to just make it to the Olympic and represent my country really well. Like, that's my main aspect.
How close do you feel like you are to achieving that?
But I think I'm not far. I'm in the 11 bar, so I think I'm not far from it. I just need to continue training hard and continue to be determined, and I think I will make it. So I'm singing. I promised her that I promised them that I was gonna sing for them. So I don't have the best of voice, but I did promise them. So let me think of one of my favorite songs that I was singing. Okay, so this is a song that I learned during the quarantine. It's a song by Iben. Let's go. You are who you are, yesterday, today and forevermore. What you say is what you do. You never fail, you never change. You are faithful till the end. That you're too faithful to fail me.
Awesome.
So I did it. If my coach is watching, you guys see I kept my promise. I did my singing.
The experienced Mike Mangle took top honors on Saturday last when the Genuine Auto Spares and Tools Open Golf Tournament was contested at the Lusignan Golf Club on the east coast of Demerara. Playing off a 7 handicap, Mangle had the overall best net score on the day, recording 67. He had a gross of 74. Jitindra Danpat, who won the Massey Motors tournament last month, came in second with a net 72 and gross 80. Playing off a handicap of 8. Brian Hackett, playing off a handicap of 18, finished third with net 72 and gross 90. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thanks to our news team and technical staff. I am Fariza Hanif. Take care and remember to stay safe. Thank you for watching.